Welcome everybody. Um, this is the 20 years Joomla celebration week, and we have several presentations. Today it is Marc. I don't know exactly, Marc Dechèvre. Is that
Yeah,
how you
very
pronounce it?
good.
Okay, I was a bit scared I get it wrong. And he is presenting about all these miracles of automation tools that are currently, I think, very much en vogue. This N8N and how to automate processes. And well, I don't know much about it,
Yeah.
so let Marc start his presentation and explain to us what we can do and make life easier for us. So please, Marc, the floor is yours.
Mhm.
Welcome.
Okay, thank you. And welcome everyone to this session. I'm very happy to speak about this topic. It's the very first time I speak about this topic. And actually, today I've worked a lot to finish the slide. So everything I say is in details. I've made, I don't know, 40 screenshots, step-by-step explanations. So even if it goes maybe a bit fast at some point or you forget something, don't worry. Just go to slides.wordweb.be, which you see now on my screen. And there you have all my presentations, many of them about custom fields, for example, but also this one. So in practice, that's the website, plenty of Joomla presentations. And if you scroll, the first one is the automation with Joomla. You click on HTML and we are here. So as you see, I just scroll down very quickly so that you see that, okay, you don't have to take notes. Everything is clearly summarized in this document. But still, this is work in progress. So if you have any experience with automation and stuff, or any feedback about what I say, what I write, what I show, please get back to me so that we can improve this, because this will be also presented most probably at several Joomla days this year. Because it's very interesting for your productivity and mine, and the productivity of your customers if you have customers. So, a long story short, if you have no clue of what automation even means, so it's about interconnecting different tools, any tool really, your website, your Joomla website, together with a RSS feed or a CRM, a mailbox, artificial intelligence, DeepL for translation, a drive in the cloud, a social network, another website, even a WordPress website to import your content directly, etc. So the idea of automation is to interconnect different tools. So obviously it's an endless topic, and here we are between Joomlas. So the idea is to focus on using automation with Joomla, how to configure automation to create or patch, meaning editing articles on your Joomla website, or the other way around, maybe to say, oh, I have a Joomla website. Every time there is a new article, for example, on the Joomla.org, there is a release announcement. Well, you could say every time there is a release announcement on my website, I want three things. I want an email to be sent to these persons. I want, I don't know, a post on the social networks. And I want to add a line on some spreadsheets online, right? So that I remember all what we have done. So this is typically the thing that we can do. And the nice thing is that as a coders, well, have been doing things like that for a long time, right? If you're a coder, you can already code anything as interaction between tools, but it's very technical, right? And the nice things with services such as Make.com, Zapier, N8N, etc., is that it is a no, or maybe I should zoom a bit. It is a no-code solution. So it's just click, drag and drop, and configure, fill in some values, and that's it. So it's very visual, no code, very easy to maintain. Here are a few examples of tools that you can interconnect. I mean, it is endless, right? I'm not the first one to have done something about automation, written something about automation. So actually, in the Joomla Community Magazine, in June 2024, there was already an article about automation, which I had missed that time. I had quickly read, but I was not aware of what it was. It was mentioning Make.com. I did not even know what Make.com was, so I read it very fast, and then I forgot about it. And it's at the last Joomla Day USA in May, where I was present in person, that Eowyn Oliver made a presentation. It was not specific to Joomla. It was a broader topic about automation, like have a kind of voicemail when your customers call you, and etc., etc. But then he was making a demo, and during that demo, I saw the Joomla logo in a scenario of his Make.com account. Then I was overexcited, and I thought, oh gosh, actually I had missed that. There is already an integration of Joomla within Make.com, making it easier to start to use. If you're a newbie, it will be very easy to set up. So have a look at those different resources, the Joomla Community Magazine, different presentations. So actually, I'm very thankful to this Spanish company who made this job. They created this Joomla integration for Make.com and shared it for free. So have a look at those different links if you like. And now let's have a look at Make.com. So Make.com, this is the website, right? And what do I want to say? Yeah, there is a free tier. So that's very handy to start with. And with this, you can run 1,000 operations per month, which is already quite a lot. So it's not only for testing 2 weeks and then you're stuck. No, every month you have 1,000 operations. So not only for your test, even for production, if your production things do not request thousands of operations, actually, you can just stay on the free tier. And also, it's very nice to start with because of all the tools I've used so far, it is the most intuitive and easy to configure. And at the moment, it is the only one having a ready-to-use integration with Joomla. So it was ACV Multimedia, the Spanish Joomla's company, who made this integration. And here is a screenshot of all the actions who are ready to use, so to say. So that's a screenshot. It's not very accessible. So I've made a proper text version of it. There are actions that you can do. You can create, retrieve, update, or delete. This is the short word for that is CRUD: create, retrieve, update, delete. Anything like a category, a menu, or an article, right? So that's already many things. You can also list articles of the websites, categories of the websites, and menus of the website. But actually, if you know the Joomla web services, absolutely anything, well, I think about anything that you can do in Joomla's backend, you can do it via the web services, also called API to make it short, even if web services is a better word probably, but okay. So anything that you can do in the backend can be done with the API. Here we already have a lot of ready-to-use actions, but suppose you want to do something special. Oh, what you wanted to do was to create a banner. Oh, okay, no worry. Actually, with any tool, so not only make.com, but that's what you will use D'Office for all the other tools like Zapier, N8N, etc. You can always do whatever you want by making your own API call. The only difference is that you have more to configure yourself. It's not ready to use. But here also, we can make an arbitrary authorized API call. Then, on top of those actions, we also have triggers. So we can also say that if we link make.com with our website, we can say that every time a new article is created on my website, I trigger something. I trigger whatever, as I was mentioning, posting on social network, writing something on a drive or on a spreadsheet, sending emails, whatever, adding a line in my CRM, whatever. Not only when an article is created, but also when an article is updated. So the two directions. We can do things on our website or trigger things from our website. Yeah, the other tools, before I go into the demonstration, the other tools that are very well known, Zapier is very well known because they were among the first players. So they have been there for a long time. About pricing, they also have a free tier, but it's only 100 tasks a month. I don't have personal experience with Zapier, apart from the fact that it is used by many. But there are plans to have a Joomla integration as well. So I give here the link of the current project. And if you want to join, to contribute, there is a channel on Mattermost, so the chat tool used by Joomlers. So just join the channel and help the community. Then there is another one which I like a lot, I think. Less easy than make.com. It is called N8N.io. N8N stands for Node-mation, and the short version of this is N8N. And there also, if you want to contribute to make an integration with Joomla, to have ready-to-use modules, actions, please join. The nice thing about N8N is that either you pay their software as a service, like it is the case for make.com or Zapier, but there is also a free self-hosted community edition available on GitHub. So you can install it locally on your computer or on your distant server, I don't know, at DigitalOcean or whatever, if you want it to be online. And this means that it is free, of course. And suppose you have, you want to do many things with it. Okay, on your own local server, you pay nothing, right? Or if you want to learn and play with it for free, you just use it on your local computer. I also have, if you don't know how to install that, the easiest way is to use Docker. And I have a detailed presentation about Docker, and I added a section about automation, about how to add N8N, how to install it easily with Docker. So yeah, there are also other tools. Those ones I've never used. Pabbly, it seems that they have sometimes lifetime offers. Okay, but I can't give personal feedback. Huggin, and if you know of other ones, please tell me after. Okay, and still another one, Composio.dev. Okay, but I don't know those ones. Now, are you ready? Let's go for the demo. So let's take different practical examples. And so all the examples I show now, except for one at the end, are made with make.com because, as I was mentioning, easier to use. And also I've prepared templates and you have all the screenshots. I have, I don't know, maybe 50 screenshots. So I cannot do that for every tool. But again, I repeat, I mean, I don't have interest in make.com, right? So use any tool you like, because anyway, with HTTP request or API call, you can do anything with any of those tools, right? So let's start with creating articles. Our first example, I want to create a new Joomla article every time there is a new item in some RSS feed. So let's take a RSS feed from Joomla. For example, as you might know, Joomla has different feeds. For example, let's take Joomla announcements, right? And I do that from scratch. So today I create a new, fresh, empty account at make.com. And I go on scenarios and I create a scenario, the button at the top right. Okay, first thing I want to do, my trigger will be a RSS feed. So here I click, there is a search field and I type RSS. Okay, there is RSS. I click on it and actually there are two choices. Well, you could probably do it with both of them, depends on exactly what you want to do. But let's choose here, watch RSS feed items. I click on it, okay, and it's asking me, okay, which URL should I listen to? Okay, I go back to Joomla website and I copy the URL, the link to the Joomla announcements. Okay, then the next question is, what is the maximum number of returned items? So maybe the feed has 10 items, right? Maybe I want to import them all, but as a first step, when you're trying a new scenario, just do it with one item, because then you can try again. When you're happy, then you can increase that number. I just save it. Okay. Then it's asking, oh yeah, but you have given an RSS feed, but what should we do with it? Take all items or only from now on or blah, blah, blah. So let's suppose in my case, depending on what you want to do, but in my case, I want them all so I can make several tests. I don't have to wait for Joomla to publish a new announcement. I click on save. Okay, the RSS part, the trigger is ready. Now there is a nice tempting plus button, add another module. So if I go there and I click, then I can say, okay, what do I want to do now? I'm listening to RSS feed, and what I want to do is to do something with Joomla. I will search for Joomla. And okay, I will click on the title. It's more comfortable, Joomla. And then I have all the possible actions that I mentioned earlier. So the CRUD thing. Here, what I want to do is simply to create an article. I click on create an article. Good. Then, next step. The connection. I have to make a connection with my own website. Here it's already done because a couple of hours ago, I made this connection. So because I made this connection, I have a list of all the connections I've made on this account. There is only one at the moment. So that every time I create a scenario, I don't have to redo that again, right? But just to show you, because I don't want to delete it, otherwise I have to go through it again. It's all explained in the presentation. So what you do there is that yeah, normally you would have this screen, a nice button, create a connection. You click on it, then it would ask you for a name. Just give it a name that is clear to you, which, if you just say Joomla website, okay, which Joomla website? So put a name which is good for you. And then web URL, you would just put the domain name of your website, https semicolon / etc. And then the Joomla API token. Maybe you have no clue of what it is, right? So actually, when you log in the backend of Joomla as super user, you have credentials, right? You have a username and a password. A Joomla API token is like your password, but another password, just not the 20 characters password that you type manually when you log in the backend, but it's a longer key to make it robust. So actually, if you go to your Joomla backend and you edit your own profile as super user, or the profile of another super user that you create especially to do that, so that you see that it is made by user web service or whatever, instead of saying user Marc. Okay, you edit your own user account. There is a tab called Joomla API token. Maybe I zoom a bit more. There is a tab called Joomla API token. Like in my case, it was a migration of an old website and I had never used the API token. So I had a message with an orange background saying, you do not have a token yet. Please save your user profile. So I saved my user profile, and then I got this. And I got this token that I just copy and paste in the interface. I go back, paste in the make.com interface as Joomla API token. So if you want to hack my website, don't even bother. I've already revoked this token, right? 1 second after making the screenshot this afternoon. So be very cautious, because if you give a token to somebody, it means that that person is super user on your website, right? So this is a super user password, this Joomla API token. Right, so let's continue. Here my connection was already made, perfect. Then I have to decide on what is the title for my article. And I see there is a little, how do you call that, asterisk, a little star symbol, right, in red, meaning that it's you must fill it in. So what do I want as title? Of course, I could say that it is a title, my own title that I type manually, but the whole goal here is to make it dynamic. So actually, because there is in as the first step my RSS feed, it has already read the first item of my RSS feed, and I have a list of all the variables which are available in my RSS feed with the corresponding content. So it's nothing theoretical. I see that the title is Joomla 533 bug fix release. Okay, good. I see that the description is a paragraph, image, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. I see the exact date where it was created, etc. So for the title of my Joomla article, based on my RSS feed, well, the title of my article, without any surprise, will be the title of the RSS feed. The text is the text that I have in my editor, TinyMCE, whatever. So there I want to take the field which is called description in the RSS feed. Okay, good. Category ID. Oh, right. Where do I want to create my article? Actually, let's go to the corresponding website. This is a website of a Joomla user group I created when I was living in West Africa. So let me just log in very quickly. So as you can see, when you go to the categories of your website, each category has an ID, a unique number. So now, if I want to create a new category, I could say, let's create a category called 20 years of Joomla. Okay, good. I create this category. Fine. And it has the ID number 12. So here in make.com, I will say that I want category number 12. By default, if you want to go fast, on 99% of the website, unless you have changed that, the category called by default uncategorized as the ID number 2. So by default, you could put 2, right? If you're lazy, and but here I want a specific category for the language. Well, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but actually some fields are compulsory and language is one of them. Maybe your website is not even multilingual. Never mind, you have to fill in this field. If your article is for all languages, then you just put asterisk, star, I don't know how you call that. But if my website was multilingual and I wanted to say that this is French, then I would type the standard, like it is in the Joomla database for French, or in the Joomla backend for French. It would be FR dash capital F capital R. If I wanted to assign English, I would say EN for English, but from Great Britain or from, I think, US. Right? But so here at the moment, it's not a multilingual website, so I just put this. The areas, well, actually, the areas, I don't have to mention it explicitly unless I want to define it myself, because it is just like when you work in the backend. When you create an article, if you don't specify the areas yourself, Joomla will do it for you, right? Meta description, okay, if you feel like adding something, meta key, the state, oh, easy, it's a drop-down. I say whether I want it to be published or unpublished. Let's say published. Access, again, a drop-down. I can say whether it is public or registered, etc. Okay, that's done. Is it featured or not? Oh, yeah, let's make it featured. A note. Oh, maybe I want a note. If you don't know what the note is, let's take an article. There is this note field there that only people in the backend can see. So no visitor would ever see that. It's a note for yourself as administrator to say, oh yeah, don't forget to change the figures every year. Okay, it's just a note for yourself. So here, let's suppose for fun that, where am I? Let's suppose for fun that I want to add a note to say, created via make.com. Okay, and I could also go further. If I had the link to an image or whatever, I could put the link to the image and etc. Okay, we are done. So I just save this. And now it's a big moment of truth because for every live demo, there is always a stress moment. Let's click on run once. It reads my RSS feed. Yes, everything is green. It means that it's a success, right? Now, let's go into details. Well, first, let's enjoy our first attempt. I go back to my categories in the Joomla website, and yes, This is the category I've just created. It was empty 1 minute ago, and now I have one published article. Let me click on the number 1. It opens the list of all the articles within this category. And oh yeah, upcoming security release on March 11th. Okay. Because actually I had said that I wanted to take all the items of my RSS feed, so it has taken the oldest one. Okay, and it has taken it here with the text. And indeed, it has made a note created via make.com. Okay, great. It works, and it has Joomla has derived the alias automatically from the title. Perfect. So it has worked. Let's run it a second time just to see. Okay, it's done. I go back to the backend. I refresh my list of articles. Excellent. Now that I'm happy, maybe that I want to be bolder. Oh yeah, I wanted to say, every time it runs, you can also click on the little bubble on the top right of each step. And then actually you see exactly what is given back by each action. So here we see that the author, for example, of this news on the RSS feed was Tom van der Laan from the Netherlands. And Joomla, what happened with Joomla? Joomla, after the article creation, because it was a success, Joomla replied, okay, the input sent to Joomla was this, to be precise. And Joomla replied, okay, fine, I've done it. And by the way, look at this. The ID of this article is 19. So I'm anticipating on the presentation, but it means that here I only have 2 steps in my scenario, but I could add more steps and I can use this information in my next steps. If I wanted to say, oh yeah, and now I want to update this article because, I don't know, now I want to call DeepL to make a translation and put the translation in some custom field of this article, I could do it. But to do that, I will have to tell Joomla it is article number 19. But it's just fine because every time you run an action in Joomla, there is the input that Joomla received, but also the output that Joomla gave you afterwards. And within this feedback, there is the ID that you can use for other actions. So very good. Now that we are happy, we could say that we want to change the maximum number of returned items. Let's say I want to be bolder and I say, okay, I've made it 1 by 1 just to make sure that it works fine before doing too many mistakes. Let's do it 5 by 5. Now, yeah, I saved it. Now I run it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good. I go back to the Joomla website. All these articles are there. Okay, I continue because I want to run into an error at some point if I manage to do it. Okay, and now it has done probably the last. Okay, until Joomla 5.3.3, which was the release of 2 days ago. Good then. Let's see what, now that all the feed has been reproduced as Joomla articles, let's see what happens if I try once more. Oh yeah. Now it's listening, but there is nothing new, so it's not. It is listening to the RSS feed, but it's not trying to create the Joomla article because there is nothing new. But let's take another example, because this afternoon, on purpose, I created an error so that I could show you. So errors can occur. For example, when I was making my tests, actually I had created a scenario, I deleted it, and I started a new scenario to take my screenshots. So actually, in my Joomla website, the article was already existing, right? I had deleted it, but it was still in the trash. So when I recreated my new scenario from scratch to make the screenshots for you, I run the scenario, and then I had a little pop-up at the bottom right corner saying the operation failed with an error. 400 save failed with the following error. A trashed article in this category has the same alias. Yes, in that case, I already had the same article with the same alias. So this happens not because of the web services. You would have exactly the same message if, as a human, you would have logged in the backend and tried to create an article where the alias already exists. You would have had the similar error message. So this little pop-up disappears after 5 seconds. So maybe you did not see it or could not read it fast enough. But anyways, you would see it because you have Joomla is in red and there is an exclamation mark instead of the one in the bubble saying that it has done one action. So if I click on it, I see the same message that I had in the pop-up saying that, okay, there is already an article with the same alias. So in this example of error, well, the solution is just the same as if I was in the Joomla's backend as human. Either I empty my trash for that category, either I give another alias to that article in the trash, either I move that article to another category, okay, whatever. But this would be the solution. Sometimes the error is not because of an existing article having the same alias. Sometimes, I don't know, I'm anticipating on another example, but sometimes you want to fill in not just the title and the description and the image, but also a custom field. And maybe you have made a mistake. It's a custom field of type, let's say URL. So you're supposed to type a URL, but when you're in the backend and you type it manually and you save, if instead of a URL you type blah blah, which is not a URL, you cannot save, right? You would have an error message that is not the right type of content for this custom field. So you would have the equivalent error if you're using the web services. So actually, if you go and read here, you would see that there is for example, an issue with custom field, blah, blah. And then you can fix that and run again your scenario. So yeah, in case of success, we've done it. Yeah, and then if you're happy, because now everything works fine, I could say, okay, this is done. Now, because here I was catching up with the past, and I was also testing, I was always clicking on run once, right? But if I want to automate it, then I can either click it on the every 15 minutes, and then it becomes automatic. Every 15 minutes, it will run. Don't forget, you have 1,000 free operations per month. There are 24 hours in a day, right? If you make it 24 hours in a day, if you make it 4 times per hour, it means you're consuming 100 operations every day. But actually, no, this is not considered as one operation. Here I have what make.com considers as 2 operations. I read a RSS feed, 1 operation, and I do something in Joomla, a 2nd operation. So actually, if I do that every 15 minutes, it would already count as about 200 actions per day. So of course, you can configure that. Instead of clicking on every 15 minutes here, I could also have clicked on the clock here, which is on my trigger, the first action. If I click on the clock, it's the same interface. And I could say, oh, no, come on, Joomla does not release new versions every 15 minutes, at least at the moment. So we could do it like once a day. Once a day, I can say at what time. Okay, I know the releases are in the evening if you're in Europe. So okay, I could say 8 p.m. 8 p.m. my time. So I know that it would be published on the day itself of the release in my case. Okay, good. And I can then activate the scenario. And now it's activated. It's daily at 8 p.m. Once a day, I will consume two operations, sorry. Now, if I can save that, I can click on save. Just one little thing, if when you're building, maybe you've moved the different steps and it's not nice, there is a little wizard button here, auto align, which puts it nicely. If you want to save, there is a save button, of course. There are more options, but for that, I'll let you see in documentation. You can add notes. Okay, nice. And also what I wanted to show is that you can export your scenario, and they call it export blueprint, but so it means export the scenario. So if you would say after the session, oh, Mark, I want the same. Well, I cannot share you my password for my make.com account, but I can export the blueprint, and then you would import my blueprint. And don't be worried, because my connection, which includes my password, right, my API token, is not included in the export. So you can really, without any problem, export a scenario. The person who will import it will have something which is almost already configured, and it would only have to reconfigure the connection, for example. If I go back to the left menu on all the scenarios, well, now I have my very first scenario here. And I also see there that it's on. And so that's another place where you can switch it on and off. Maybe now that my demo is done for you, I don't want to run it because it was just a demo. So I will turn it off without even opening it. I can turn it off from here, right? And I have other options. I could clone it so that, maybe now I want to tweak it, but I don't want to break what I've already done, then I would clone it. Or maybe I'm done with this example and I would just delete it. Okay, so we have already done, that was a simple example, but we have really done it step by step. And now that we've done that, the floor is yours. You can do anything because it's always the same principle. Let me show you some examples then. Oh yeah, also, I was saying that you can export and import what they call a blueprint of the scenario, but actually it's also possible when you have a scenario, where am I? When you have a scenario, you can also, instead of a scenario, go to the template section. Then you're creating templates. Well, there are already many templates that you can, if you say, oh, that's great. This reads my email and it transforms everything in a Google Sheet. That's what I wanted. Nothing to do with Joomla, just fine. But I mean, there are thousands of ready-to-use templates. Maybe you want your own template. So you could say, what I've just built, I could have started with new template, create the thing, and then save it as a template. Then it would be available for all my team. And then if I want to make it really public for anybody, I can click on an extra button to make it public for the whole world. I've not done it. I could do it for this example, so that people would at least find in the at the moment, if you go to the templates, and you search for Joomla, well, there is no template. So maybe I should publish officially my demo so that there would be at least one Joomla example. And so the difference with the templates is that, okay, I don't have to save and to send you. It becomes public for my team or public for the whole world, according to what I choose. But another advantage, I go back to the presentation, is the fact that when you create your template, actually it's exactly the same screen as I've done here. But let me click here. We will see that's the link to the template, so you can click on it. So you don't even do what I've done today step by step. I open a new tab. I open this link. No, I've made a mistake. No, here, sorry. I've made a typo. Meg.com. Okay. So here, let's suppose I am you clicking on the link. Oh, actually, the difference is that you already have all the steps ready. Okay, there are only 2 steps in this example, and the other nice thing is that actually everything is pre-filled, because for each field I could say, oh, save the default value. And for example, for each field, I've already saved some default values. For category ID, I've said, okay, let's put 2, because I'm sure you have an uncategorized category, unless you have deleted it. But for example, I've not filled all the fields, so I can choose. And also, what you can do when you create a template is to give hints. So there is a help for each field, and there you can put your own explanation. I wrote myself today, all fields with a star must be filled in. So for Joomla, it's title, text, category, ID, and language. So this is not a text by Meg.com, it's a text by myself while making my template. Yeah. So now that we are done with this first detailed example, I'll go quickly through other examples just to give ideas. I won't open each and every one of them because otherwise it would take too much time. But in the first example, my trigger was the RSS feed of, okay, in this case, Joomla announcements. But the trigger, I could have the same process, but where the trigger would be a webhook. The webhook could be, well, if you don't know what it is, maybe I cannot explain it now, but so a webhook could be anything sent by another website so that your scenario will be triggered by any other system as soon as something happens, and it would create your article. And moreover, in this real life example, it's every time there is a new film in some public database, it pings me, and that's a webhook. It pings me, and then I say, okay, I'll create a Joomla article with that film. But I also wanted to fetch the image physically on my website, not just put the distant link from the source. I wanted to have a duplicate of the image on my own website. So this is why I added 2 intermediate steps here, an HTTP step to get the file, because from the webhook I had the link to the image. So with the get the file, I say to Meg.com, okay, go and fetch that file. And then with SFTP, I upload it to my own server on my own website so that the Joomla article will use the local image within the image folder of the Joomla website itself. Another example, the source could be a Google Sheet. So here, let's take this example. I would have a Google Sheet with a list of titles and content and the description. So I could say, okay, let's go and read a Google Sheet I don't have time now to create a real Google Sheet, but it is as easy as what I've shown here for RSS or Joomla. You just click on Google Sheet and you follow the steps. You make the connection with your Google Sheet, or you click on OK, and then you say which column you want, etc. So here I have the Google Sheet. I say that I want to create an article. But in this example, I wanted to test something else. After creating the article, maybe you have noticed that it is really, I am super grateful to ACV Multimedia, the Spanish Joomla company, who created all this integration of Joomla for make.com. There are already many things, but like the create an article action has already many parameters, but not all imaginable parameters, right? For example, if I wanted to change the start publishing date, the end publishing date, the start featured date, the end featured date, maybe I have 20 custom fields. I have a custom field, I don't know, company, year, first name, last name, etc. Well, of course, this is not in this simple create an article module that was created. So whenever I want to do something custom made, I can use the make an API call. And there I can do anything, even create a banner. So what do I do with this make an API call? Actually, okay, this becomes a little bit more technical because it's an API call. So I have to define myself the variables, so to say. So, but I give you the answer. So it's very easy. You just have to copy paste. For the URL, when you call yourself manually the Joomla API, the Joomla Web Services, you have to type, well, above URL, you see the connection to my Joomla website. But here it's above the screenshot. So the URL, you have to say, at the moment, it is /v1/content/articles in this case, and / you have to say which article you want to edit. So you need to put the ID of the article you want to edit. So here, dynamically, I have chosen the ID which was given in step 2, just before. Then I have to choose a method. Method is to say whether I want to create, patch, delete, etc. So here I want to patch. I don't want to create. It's already created. I want to edit it. So this is called patch in terms of in the words of APIs. Then technical part, you don't have to understand, but for headers, you just type headers item 1 key content type value application /JSON. Okay. And for the body has to be a valid JSON. So a JSON is just curly brackets with every time the name of a variable, semicolon, and the name of the value and the value separated with commas, right? So this is a valid JSON, little JSON. So in this case, maybe I can, it is there. Okay. This is my JSON. And in my case, I wanted, for example, to fill in some custom field. So I just take the, not the title of the custom field, but the alias of the custom field, okay, which is called name in Joomla, but whatever is the ID. So there I can type whatever, and whatever can be something that you fetch from step 1, from the Google Sheet. It could be an extra column in your Google Sheet. So you can fill in all your custom fields from your Google Sheet. Then for publish down, I have to fill in, publish down is the technical term for end stop publishing or end publishing. I don't remember the word. So I have to put a valid date, and publish down is the name in the database. If you don't know what you have to put, right, just go and see the structure of the database. It's called publish down, publish_down. And then I have to put a valid value. If you look in the Joomla database, you will see that technically it is written as year dash months that day that space that hour that semicolon minutes semicolon seconds. That's the right universal computer format, right? So if I do that, well, this scenario would work. I think I've mentioned everything there. Yeah. So that was the idea of creating Joomla articles from a Google Sheet. It could be one that I've already done it with 3,000 articles that I had to create in Joomla. Very easy. I can create the article and all the custom fields are filled in very easily. If you have huge volumes, then you will start to pay with make.com. Then maybe N8N on your local server is a good option for you. So just to say. Now, another example, very similar, still creating Joomla article from a Google Sheet, but I will add other steps. In this case, what I do is that I read my Google Sheet, but first I want to translate, for example, the title and the content of my news, of my Joomla articles. So I just go to DeepL. When you click on it, it asks you to connect your account, and then you define what you want to do, translate from English to French, for example. And then what do I do with this translation? I could have used it directly to put it in my Joomla article that I create in the end. But let's be smart. I don't want to use too many credits on DeepL. So since I've made the translation for my 1,000 articles, maybe it would be smart to save it in the same Google Sheet. And again, that's done in a few clicks. You just say a new module, Google Sheets, but this time you say update a cell, while the first module is watch new rows. So if you say update a cell, you will say, oh, okay, and in column, I don't know, column D and E, you will put the translation that you have made for the title and the description of your Joomla article. Then, okay, I have a step which is called tools, because in tools you can put your own variables. Maybe when you create your article, you want to say that the author is not yourself, but some other person. Instead of putting that value in the Joomla step, I could say, oh, I'll make it a variable so that I know that every time I want to change those variables, I don't have to tweak the touchy part. I just change my variables directly here in tools. Then I can even have routers. So that's very powerful, because you could say, oh, according to whatever. According to some value in the Google Sheet, according to the fact that there is an error at the previous step, according to whether there is a banned word in the translation, I don't know, whatever. According to some rule that you define very simply in your router, you can say, okay, I don't know, if the, I don't know, let's say if the title of the article is more than 20 characters, then do this, and otherwise do that. And so in that case, in one case, I just used the ready-to-use module, create an article. And in the other case, I needed more parameters for custom fields and stuff. So then I was making an API call to make my own JSON, right? And that's an example. Here, if I create an article from scratch, then it's not patch, as I was mentioning in the previous example. Creating is called post, right? And in our example, the JSON will look like this. There are 4 compulsory parameters: title, article, text, which is a technical name for the web service for what is in your editor in Joomla, cat ID, which is a category ID, and the language. And here, in my case, I've added the state and my own custom field name. Of course, here I've put underscore, underscore, underscore for the values, but you want to put there whatever you want, maybe something hard-coded or something dynamic that you take from any of the previous steps of your scenario. Then, actually, this is where I wanted to go for my personal use. I wanted to create articles in batch because there are many articles, but it was a bit tricky. Let me show you. I have a website where every 3 months, every quarter, they have a new report. So there can be many articles, maybe 15, maybe 50, but the website is multilingual, meaning that here I've made 3 columns in the Google Sheet, title in Dutch, title in French, title in English. This is the spreadsheet that they send me to say, hey, Mark, here's the new report. Can you please make everything ready on the website? But what I have to do is what I had to do before building this with make.com, I had to create every of the 50 articles in Dutch manually, then in French manually, then in English manually, and then more tricky is that I had, well, more tricky. Once I had the 3 languages for each article, I had to make the association to say, oh yeah, and general hospitals corresponds to hôpitaux généraux in French and to Algemeen Ziekenhuizen in Dutch. Okay, this looks easy for this line, but like a foreword or conclusion, I have maybe 100 articles called foreword and conclusion. So many times I was making mistakes because I was selecting the wrong one manually because there were too many. Then I had a phone call. I was going to lunch and I was forgetting where I was. Very tricky to do because it was not all. It's not only a question of creating 3 times all the articles and then making the association. Afterwards, I had to create the same for each and every one. I had to create the corresponding menu item calling each article. And again, after creating the 3 times 50 menu items, I had to associate them all, again, with the difficulty of having so many menu items having the same name like foreword and conclusion. So here is my new, very easy to set up scenario. I'll just read this Google Sheet. Oh yeah, and also I have a last column, cat ID, because every time they create a new report, I create a new category so that I say, okay, it will be category 194. So the first step, I go and read the Google Sheet. The second step is a bonus for myself because I wanted to have extra parameters, but I did not want to repeat them manually in the 6 Joomla blocks there. Like, I don't want these articles to be created in my name, but in the name of somebody else. So in those tools, I've said, okay, the author is Tim. Okay, good. So that every time in each Joomla step, I'm saying author is, and I fetch the variable here in made in step 2. So then I'll create the article in Dutch. I'll create the article in French. I'll create the article in English, and I make the association. Oh, maybe I should put. Oh no, I've done it here. Here I'm showing, again, at every step, I'm showing something more complex. Here we have the same JSON as before, but I've added 2 parameters, or 3. I've added access, okay, just to say whether it is public or registered, etc. I've added created by, it's what I was mentioning, and there I'm fetching the created by value that I've put in my second step. And then the association. In Joomla, if I say association, okay, in Dutch, it is article having ID X, and in French, it's article having ID Y. And it's very easy because every those articles were created just before, so I can just fetch the ID that Joomla gave back as answer just after creating the article. So now the whole process here is just one click, no matter, even if tomorrow they come with 1,000 articles in 3 languages with 1,000 menu items and the association between everything, for me is just one click. Another nice example is to migrate from another website to Joomla. You could do it from Joomla to Joomla, but that's an example from WordPress to Joomla. So here, there is an action, there is a module which is called WordPress Watch Post. So you're listening to WordPress, fine. And then I was creating the corresponding Joomla article. So exactly as we have done so far. Nothing special, very easy. But in Joomla, actually, the image, the intro or the full image is technically mentioned within the article, right? It's part of the fields of an article. But WordPress does not work that way. Actually, WordPress, when you have an item, a post, it does not give the URL to the corresponding image. It says, hey, it's image 123. So this is why I have made a second step to say, okay, in this post, I know that the image is 123. So again, I call WordPress to say, get me the media called having the ID 123. And this way, in the last step in Joomla, I have the full URL of this image that or the full name or whatever that I can put then in my create an article in Joomla. Yeah. Yeah, that's the idea. Then, by the way, it's a good moment to mention that. Thanks, Herman, for having summarized yesterday by chance on Mattermost the topic. Actually, there are other ways to migrate content from WordPress to Joomla, because Joomla has currently 2 projects. There is one advanced migration tool, and I give the link here for the details, and a migrating CMS using the web services API. So for both solutions, you install a Joomla component, and that's another way to migrate from WordPress to Joomla. So if this is your need, okay, there are many ways, because maybe those tools are a perfect match for you, but maybe your need is a little bit more specific and you need something custom, but maybe you're not a coder. So actually, as you see here, you can create your own migration tool very easily just by clicking in make.com. Well, okay, and by being a bit curious, of course, because like here, I was ignoring that the media was not mentioned within the post, but I had to make a second query in the WordPress database. Yeah. So I won't be too long anymore on the other examples because it's already more than 1 hour. Watch articles. So so far we've always said there is a trigger, and based on that, I do something in Joomla. Now it's the other way around. I'm listening to my Joomla website, and if there is a new article, or if an article is changed, edited, updated, then I can trigger something. So I could say, oh, look, I would like to have a spreadsheet with all the articles I publish on my Joomla website. Okay, very easy. Joomla, watch new articles, and in step 2, Google Sheet, add a row. And in add a row, as you can see, you say, okay, in column A, I want to put the Joomla title, etc. I don't know whether there is a chat. Yeah. Yeah, if somebody can copy paste the chat, because after the session, maybe I don't have the time to copy paste since I'm presenting. So yeah, okay. Here I can say in which column of the spreadsheet I put which field of Joomla, and that's it. Another example is the same, but I'm not listening to new articles. I would be listening to updated articles, and same story, right? But maybe what I want to do is not to make a spreadsheet with all my articles. Maybe what I want to do is to automate, I don't know, maybe for the marketing department of Joomla, maybe this can be useful instead of using expensive paid tools to automate the process of publishing announcements on different social media. So you could say, hey, every time there is a new Joomla article or there is a new RSS feed, whatever, I create a new post on my Facebook page. And here again, for each of them, I can put the value fetch from the step one, or make a mix every time. I'd not mentioned maybe, but here I wrote explicitly for the test, hard-coded automation semicolon, and then I fetch the value. So you can always mix different dynamic values or your own hard-coded text with a mix of different dynamic values, etc. Another very nice example that I will definitely use is mass user creation. So far, we've always played with articles, but let's suppose we have a spreadsheet with a few columns: name, username, password, email. And let's even create a last column that we leave empty, which is called ID. Okay. Then I would just create a scenario to say, hey, watch new rows on the Google Sheet. Then create users making an API call. Or creating a user, I think, was not available in the ready-to-use modules, right? If I'm not mistaken. So maybe I should put the JSON here. And then, very nice. Let's take the opportunity here to write back right after the user creation, the ID of that user that we've just created. So then I add a new module, which is update a row in Google Sheet, to say, hey, let's add the user ID back to the Google Sheet. Another example here, even without Joomla in the scenario, but I could also, I mentioned it quickly earlier, retrieve a file via HTTP and then extract the metadata and then upload it via SFTP. And I can in SFTP say specify the permissions, etc. Now, I already told a lot. If you're new to this, maybe this is already a lot, but different people today have asked me, oh, will you talk about NA10? So let's take a few examples, because there it was more tricky to set up the first time. Really, when I started with make.com as a total newbie, it was just clicking on Joomla and filling in what I was asked to fill in, and basically that's almost it, right? Apart from the advanced examples where I had to figure out which JSON, but here with A8N, everything is a little bit more manual in the configuration, so it's a little bit more technical. But based on the examples we have done before, we gain a lot of time. So this is how it looks like. To take the same example, create an article from an RSS feed. This is what it looks like, except that I need to add the first step, which is schedule trigger, because it is not included in my RSS read action. Okay, fine. But the special thing is this: when you want to make a connection to your own website, you have to configure everything by yourself. And so if you're not an expert in web services, if you've never done that, well, you have no clue of what you should put. So here I've put all the details. You don't have to read it now. Just know that it's there when you want to create your first HTTP request to do something in Joomla. The method is supposed to create something. The URL is what I mentioned here. It's your domain name followed by API/index.php, v1, contents, articles. Then you have to specify the authentication, generic authentication type, which must be bearer oath. I don't know whether other options would work, but this one does work anyways. Bearer oath must be bearer oath account. Then when you click on the pencil, you can put your API key, your API token. You have to enable send headers. Then you fill in this content type, application JSON. Okay, fine. And then for the rest, this is really the connection part. And then for the parameters, when you want to create your article, again, it's in JSON, so I select JSON. Then there are two choices. Either you can say, all right, here I forgot to make the bullet points, sorry. There are two choices. Either you put the JSON yourself in a nice JSON format, then you're responsible for having a nice JSON. But what is very handy is that you can say, hey, no, I'm not typing the JSON. I will say using fields below. And then it is cleaner because you say, okay, for the field title, this is the value taken from the field step. For the field article text, this is the value. For the field cat ID, and so this is maybe a little bit cleaner than having to write the whole JSON. Yeah, as I was mentioning, you can do anything in Joomla, even if it's not foreseen in a ready-to-use action in your automation tool, whatever the automation tool which you want to use. As soon as you have something called like HTTP action or make an API call, or I don't know how they would call it, you can do anything that is allowed in the Joomla Web Services, which means basically anything that can be done in the backend. If you want to test your JSONs, because maybe what you want to do is to create a menu item and associate. At first, I did not know what the JSON was, and I wanted to make tests, but not making tests in make.com because I didn't know that, okay, it was not efficient first, an efficient way to do it. And also, I was consuming operations in my account. So if I want to make tests with APIs, one of the possible tools is Postman, or there is also Bruno or others. So here I have the start of a presentation about Postman. So you have something to start with, but I will add more information with screenshots. So install Postman. And what you have to know is that Alexandre Élysée has created what is called a collection. So it means that he has created a kind of ready-to-use list of everything which is possible with the Joomla Web Services. So then all you have to do amongst the hundreds of actions is to select the one you want. You already have the JSON, and then you tweak it. You have a starting point, and you improve it. You add what you need to add, and you make your tests. Yeah, and a few tips. That's again for the Postman thing. So I would improve that part of the presentation another time. And that's it. So before going to the questions and answers and stuff, don't forget, I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be an expert. I discovered this whole topic thanks to Erin Oliver, who just shared a screen by coincidence at the last Joomla Day USA, and I saw the Joomla logo in his make.com thing. I said, oh gosh, I had missed that. And then I started to investigate, and I wanted to share this with you, my own experience. But if you have anything else to add, please get back to me so that I can improve this presentation, these slides, etc., which will also be made at different Joomla days in the next 12 months. So it can, it can be, let's spread the Joomla love. Right, this is it for me. I don't know whether there are questions. I hope my microphone was on. So I'm seeing some messages. Yeah, Bjorn is saying that he was trying some JSON, but it is not right. So actually, in your JSON, you have a closing curly bracket. I don't think, at first view, I don't think that the first curly bracket should be there, because you're closing your thing, and then and by the way, I'm taking yours if I can make a test, and because I had the experience yesterday. I make a search JSON validator. I just take the first link. I don't know, maybe there are better tools, but if I type JSON here, the JSON that you have put, Bjorn, and I click on validate JSON, okay, this is valid. Oh no, sorry, the curly brackets were correct. Oh yeah, it's the layout which is not nice in the chat of Google Meet. Sorry. So the JSON is valid. This is the first step, is to check that there is no mistake. For example, if I would forget one comma in my there, I would say validate JSON. It will say, hey, there is an error on line 7. Oh yeah, I've forgotten my comma. And I would add the comma, check again, and the JSON is valid. So that's a little tip. So yeah, then I'm not sure what could be wrong in this example. Maybe, okay, just skip the image part. Because anyway, you're not using it. So the fact that you're filling it an image which is not an image path could be wrong. So just try that. But for the rest, by quickly looking, I don't see anything special. Thank AK. Thank Abdul Kadir, Sheshu. I'm reading Mary. You have learned some new things. Yeah. So did I. When every time it's the same. Every time I'm curious about something about Joomla, I learn it for myself, but then I'm afraid to forget. 3 months later, you forget what you've learned. So I make my own notes, and I said, yeah, but maybe I should make it more explicit so that I can share it with others, and it becomes presentations like these ones. And that's the idea of how to build a community and to share experience.
Mark, I'm going to hop in here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Angelica, I know, had a board meeting, so she has left here. So I'll just fill in and for her. And thank you very much for this presentation. I think it's once again what's core in Joomla leads to mind-blowing opportunities and combinations of things to do, especially combined with the tools that you've shown. And so you say you're not an expert, but you know way more than a lot of us on that. So that's really appreciate once again another amazing presentation and all the work that you've put in, and also your generosity in sharing it. And you're also very good at giving credit where credit is due. So I want to give you credit for just being such a big part of the community, and especially on this 20th birthday or 20th anniversary week. Thank you very much for everything that you do.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, really. And as last words, everything is that I've shown today is in detail and will be improved in the coming 12 months continuously. So it's all available on slides.wordyweb.be.
I'm excited too to see that these templates or the different setups for the different tools are exportable, because we could definitely develop or provide a collection to people, or share them amongst each other for doing these setups.
Yeah, because for example, Nathan, I don't know how you pronounce his first name, Nathan, yeah, contacted me to have the blueprint, the export of my multilingual example to create articles, association, menu items, association. So I asked him yesterday evening whether he had some feedback or some other ideas and stuff. So he did not see my message yet. But if he has some experience and some feedback, I'm always happy to hear.
Yeah, and so people are wondering who Nathan is. Nathan's a member of my team, and we're trying to set up a Google Sheet where the client can paste in the information into the different custom fields that we're setting up, so that and add articles to his site that way. And then so we've kind of got that working, but then the wall that we hit was, well, what if an article is created in the Joomla site and doesn't appear in the spreadsheet yet? How do we get it to check to see if there's a new article, or even if the article has changed? But you answered that with the in the presentation today. So it gets complex because we'll have to check the client's database to make sure that there are any if there's any new articles, or if something has been edited. But you showed how to do that with the difference between post and what was the difference between making a new one as post and updating is
Patch.
Patch. Okay, so that's good. So it's going to get very complex, but as you showed with the example with so many different languages, and being able to use different tools, then you can just process so many things all at once. I think another thing that you can do is you can have AI look at an article, at the article body, and then write the meta description and paste it into the field.
Oh yeah, okay. Indeed, I did not mention it explicitly because I only showed, let's use DeepL to translate the title. But actually, yes, you can also use AI. I have a use case for the the movie database, because they have the synopsis, so the summary of the film. But actually, they in some context they need a short version of it, not just the 100 first characters. Really, a summary of the summary in 200 characters. Okay, and that's a perfect match. You can have one column in the Google Sheet with the real official synopsis summary of the film, the movie, and then a new empty column that you will fill automatically with AI, which will sum it up in a maximum so many characters, and etc. etc.
So maybe a practical question now, because now that you're doing these thousands of things with just one click after you have it all set up, we were in a meeting earlier in a jug, and we were talking about what do we like about Joomla. And I said I really like the community and I like the money. And by that I meant because I've retired without money, and so I'm living off of my Joomla business. What's your advice to people that who are doing this for clients, and all of a sudden what would have taken them hours and hours and hours to do for them takes 5 minutes? What's your advice to them on billing?
It's a difficult question because it's exactly my example of what was taking me like half a day before to create a new report. Now is just one click. But to create that, because I had to discover make.com, actually the first time I spent much more than half a day for free. But it was for the sake, I was just curious. I was doing it for myself. But of course, it's not that I have an advice for somebody, because, it depends on your relation with the customers, depends on what you want to do. For example, if I had a customer saying, hey, I have a WordPress website, I would say, no problem. I import all your content. I would do it for free. I mean, implicitly, right? Okay. Now, if for some people I have to do something which has value and which spares them 1 day of work per week or per month, well, it has a value. Then I should invoice something because I have spent time learning that to make it easy and faster. But a bit like the lawyer, a lawyer can give you good advice. Maybe it has taken 20 years to have this little sentence that this person will tell you, and that can make you spare, I don't know, 1,000, 100,000 euros, dollars. Yeah, you could say, oh, it took just 2 seconds to pronounce that sentence. Yeah, but it's 20 years of experience. So what what is the value and what is the price for that? I cannot say for others. It's a case by case thing.
Yeah.
For my own.
And it's a good question for us to consider, because one of the concerns about automation not only is how to set it up, but is what is it going to do to the workforce? What is automation going to do when is it going to take people's jobs away? How are we going to make money? And so one of the things is to really be aware of the value that you are bringing to your client. And of course, if you have a client and you're doing something for free, that's their choice in your business, and that's all part of the relationship. You might migrate, you might move a WordPress site to Joomla, and those people are going to host with you, and you're going to design the page, and you just do it for free, but then you have that residual income from it. But yeah, with the shift that automation brings, we have to have a shift in the way we look at things, and maybe charging only for our time is not the model, because I think you and I both have this.
Yeah, sure. It's not just time; it's value. It's a mix of both. It's time and value.
Because I think you and I both have the same addiction. We like to eat every day, right? And no one's automatically giving us food. So, all right. Well, I don't think I even have control over this meeting to close it. So what I'm just going to do is thank you again.
I'm around.
Oh, are you there? Or you're back? Great.
I'm back. Our board meeting has just closed, but I've been listening with one ear, and I hope I'll have chance to review the presentation afterwards.
Oh yeah, there will be a replay
to have all the details. I could not follow it in detail though. So thank you very much, Marc, for holding that presentation.
My pleasure.
And it's really
any question by any person in the audience, we can also talk after the session is closed.
Yes. Okay. And thank you everybody who has been coming in for today. As you might have questions, if Marc is still around, go ahead asking questions. And let me tell you, tomorrow by the same time, we will have Sigrid in the house. Sigrid Kamlinger, the DC operations. She will have a talk about the future of Joomla. And after her talk, we want to do a session where people can ask questions, bring in their ideas, what they think about the future of Joomla, so that we hopefully have a very lively and inspiring discussion tomorrow.